Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the co-founder and CEO of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Jaz Greer. Jaz is got a background in running networking events, so face-to-face networking events. And because of the COVID-19, the coronavirus situation, he's had to shift everything online. So I wanted to get him online and talk. Now, his children aren't allowed to use the internet for the 20 minutes of this interview. So you can imagine we do want to get it over quite quickly because they're pretty much banging on the door, asking to basically get back onto the internet. So anyway, before we get started, Jaz, where can people find you?
On most platforms, Jaz Greer, JAZGREER, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and most importantly on LinkedIn. Just search for Jaz Greer and you should find me.
Fantastic. And that's, yeah, as you said, it's JAZ, so just one Z, not as in jazz music.
Absolutely.
There are people that watch this where English may not be their first language. So some background in terms of you've always been a big networker. And you've run various networking groups, and that's been face to face. And I know when I talk to you, you have been through a number of instances in your life where the world has come to a complete standstill, and you had to completely rebuild. But let's talk about.
Here we go again.
Yeah, here we go again. Yeah, so let's talk about this one. And it's great because you see that there's four things that we need to think about in terms of how we move things online. So talk us through in terms of what you were doing before the COVID-19 thing, and then what you've done, because you actually ran an event yesterday. That's the reason why we've run this today, is that you wanted to prove something out. You've proved it out, and so you wanted to come on here and share your experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've been running networking events for over 20 years now, across all sectors, all types of people. And for the past year, we've been running what we call the business connection. So yes, it's networking, but it's more than that. It's about connecting businesses together, connecting them to opportunities, etc. And that's been going really, really well. And then obviously with what's been happening, we've been thinking, well, what happens if we have to close down? Because it was going to be something in the future, but then it rapidly came forward. So we've had the plans in the pipeline, and we decided that we would move the business connection online, which we did yesterday, and there were 18 of us there. We ran the same format as we do face-to-face. There were a few things that we had to adjust, obviously being online, but we also added in the value by being the accredited business advisor as well. I did a session on what do you need to do at the minute in your business, practical advice. It ran for 90 minutes and nobody fell asleep. We have the recording to prove it. We had lots of banter. I mean, it's like, you can't be too serious. You need to laugh at this time as well to keep you sane. But we had great banter. People really used it. We had a few technical hiccups. It was quite funny because one of the guys that couldn't get in was the guy that does our telecoms, and normally I'm ringing him up saying, "What do I do?" This time I was supporting him how to get online, and it was the iPad was the issue. But so we had great rapport. We went through the usual elevator pitches and things, and the amount of connecting through it was just absolutely brilliant. And the feedback afterwards was, this is great because it saves me time in travel. It saves me a lot of money. I'm here. I can connect with people straight away after this meeting. And, it's just, why don't we do it before, really? So it was absolutely positive. And obviously, the first time you do it, you're juggling technology and all. And I said to Alma, my wife, we do it together. I said, boy, I tell you, face-to-face is much easier. But the thing is, Tim, you see this finger? This is the power you have for the online.
Mm.
In the room, you can't mute people. You can't chuck them out of the meeting. So you've got more power.
Yes, I do that when I run team calls. I put people on mute. Yeah. But I mean, it's interesting because you said to me that there was a number of things about running things online, which is you're not just picking it up face to face and putting it online. So we're not just getting on a Zoom call and expecting it all to work. You said there are things like, atmosphere, values, and rapport. How do you actually build those up when you're running something online? Question.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key things is all of this, whether it's a networking event, meetings, or an event that you would do that people attend for speakers, all of that can be replicated online to probably 90% of it. I think the key is making the connections with people, and not just connected on LinkedIn, but actually making connections. So it's down to the person running it. And that's why at the beginning we had quite a lot of rapport and things, because we do a lot, Alma and I, in connecting with people, getting to know them. And that's been offline. Now we have to do that still, but we brought it online. So we brought the atmosphere, the whole buzz about the business connection online, because we had a core of people that we know. And now we have to, when we have new people coming in, you can't always do it beforehand, but afterwards we'll now be having one-to-ones with those people, getting to know them. So the next one, then I can be saying, oh, Ruth, how about this? I know you were doing this, and start to make them feel a part of it. So it's down to how you plan, how you prepare, but also how you present during that online event. And if you know those people, you can build up the rapport and bring them in and get what's a cold audience warm very quickly. So it's a skill, but something that people can learn, and is very achievable online.
Because I've run a lot of virtual meetings. I happen to have worked in an environment where that was very common, and I've run teams across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And the difficulty is that you do get different types of people, in terms of there are natural extroverts who always want to talk, and there's natural introverts who don't want to talk. And it's very easy on a conference call and even on video to basically hide in the background and not say anything. And it's part of the chair's job is to shut up the extroverts, and say, so Jazz, what do you think to that? And pull people into the conversation. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to allow people, they'll have a bit of a phobia about going on for the first time, or maybe they've been doing it one-to-one, but going into an environment where you've got 15, 20 other people, it's like, oh, I don't know about this. So I think that the person facilitating it has got to allow those people the space to sit there, but also keep an eye and make sure they're not moving out of the experience, and call them in at the right time. So the prime opportunity yesterday was when it comes to your elevator pitch. Then everybody got their turn, and it was brilliant. And people listened, and I had everybody on mute so that we weren't getting background noise and things. And there's great little functions in Zoom where you can raise a hand. Literally it appears up in the top whatever corner. So we used that function and the chat function, and it worked brilliantly. So people were able to participate on their terms, and they felt comfortable with that. But yeah, there were some people that I didn't have to mute them, but I've got this little horn that we use to call a bit of order at the face-to-face. So I did have to bring it in yesterday and say, so people got the message, it's time to move on. And I said, you can put that into chat. And they did. They very easily put their offer, their links into chat, and people still benefited from it. So,
okay. Yes. And I think that's important as well, actually, I often see conversations and it's all face to face, and people don't use the chat function. And actually, the chat function is really useful because you can have conversations with the group and conversations with individuals.
And I think because we do a lot more texting and messaging now, Tim, actually those that we're on are quite au fait with technology in that sense. So yes, the chat was it was buzzing. I mean, we've got a whole big feed recorded from Zoom to go through. That's what Alan was doing at the minute.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was really buzzing. Yeah.
Right.
So at the end of the meeting, you get all of that chat. It saves into a text file, so you don't lose anything at all, which is brilliant.
Okay. Right. So I mean, there's four things that we wanted to talk about in terms of social work, opportunities, and technology. Because I know people are interested in the technology you've been using, and if we go through some of the context here around, so I mean, you think it's in terms of this networking for you, social is fundamental to this, as in social media I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think social per se is fundamental, but as I said about getting the rapport and all, you've got to make that social connection. But yeah, social media is key to this because if people are not active on social and don't up their game now, they're not going to see these opportunities. They're not going to be able to participate. They're going to get left behind. And the whole social selling, something that we both share in common, the specialities. Social selling is about making the right connections, building the relationship, and really the sales bit will come naturally from all of that. So if people are not on social and they're not practicing those principles of social selling, connecting, building relationship, and having conversations, they're going to miss out. They've got
but if you think, if you're in terms of your networking group, so you've got a bunch of people that don't know each other, you bring them together, and they're allowed to talk about their product, and people will listen. But at the end of that, there's going to be a situation where they're going to go away, and so traditionally, what you've done is that there's been like and I have a whole box of business cards where you would have given someone a business card, and in effect they hold that piece of you, or you would have written something on a bit of paper. But the thing is, so without having the relationship of face to face handshake, how do people now build relationships going forward? Question.
Well, the five elements we have in the business connection opportunities to connect are over food, mix and mingle. We then have we connect in the room on LinkedIn, and then we have 3 one-to-ones. Those elements, you can't have the food online, unfortunately. So we have that little time just as everybody's getting set up to have the mix and mingle. But we also then have used chat to set up the one-to-ones. And we invite people to the business connection through messaging on LinkedIn, and we set up a group message that everyone can then connect off each other and continue the conversation, what we do in the meeting. So that's how we've coped with that, really.
Right. Okay. And so once you've had the session, and you're connecting on LinkedIn, what happens is that you're then building those relationships going forward on social, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll like each other's posts, connect with each other, message each other, open up our network. So yes, it's a really powerful tool.
Okay, so for you, it's about networking, but also increasing your social presence, because once you've been to that networking group, it's a kind of a one-off event. You then, what you're doing is that then you're building your network on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. You're opening yourself up from attending like yesterday to like 15, 17 other people. and their network. So if you start interacting with another 15 people, say, and then that gets you to 100 people in each of their networks, in a very short space of time, your social presence has gone from here right up through the roof. So it's a great tool to accelerate your social presence without being salesy as well.
Yeah, and you're now seeing this as the way of doing business, because I think in the past a lot of people saw social as it's about cat pictures and it's a superficial thing. And kids use it as a way of who they're going to meet at the pub, but we can't have those face-to-face meetings. And even in a business context, face-to-face is gone away. People are now supposed to be working from home, so you can't even cold call them because the offices are empty. So social seems to be the way forward. Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely, yeah. It's the way. I mean, CEOs and all used to think, as you say, that the social team, the digital team, was just faffing around, basically. Now, all of a sudden, overnight, the investment we've all made in making connections, building networks, building communities online, that is gold dust now to any business, because it's the only way, really, you're going to get in touch with people. And so now all of a sudden you've got all these sales teams that didn't embrace social selling, didn't learn the techniques, were already behind because the social sellers were outperforming by at least 27% on the sales targets. Now those sales teams have to come into the 21st century and they're forced into a position to learn what social selling is, what social media is, how to use it. And they've got a lot to make up in a very short space of time. So it's definitely the way ahead. But there is a bit like we've talked about with manufacturing in the country and things about skills gap and all the rest. We're now all of a sudden, Tim, seeing a skills gap, a knowledge gap when it comes to social, when it comes to business. And that's something that is quite large for a lot of people, and people really have to learn quickly and narrow that gap if they want to survive what's happening, let alone thrive in and after this episode is over.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's been interesting for us because we've actually had a couple of companies that have just said we want to do it, and we're moving ahead, and you. And it just happens like that because they've suddenly, we had a conversation with them that's been going on for about 6 months, which was, we need to do this. It's a kind of nice to have, and life's going on. And now, we've had a large management consultancy just come to us and say, we're going to do it. And we start on Friday. And that it's completely, for some people who've been talking about it and getting it, they've seen the switch that's happened. And I think there's a lot of people that are hoping this is all going to be over by Easter. We're like this we're going to be like this for months. So what do you see in terms of the opportunity here?
Well, I mean, the whole world is your oyster, really. All of a sudden, what were little markets locally, nationally, or whatever, with people not having incomes and holding on to cash and things, it's going to be difficult to try and get through all of that crowd and noise to get to the people who have got the resources to make the investment at this time. So that would take a long time. It's much quicker with social selling and using online, obviously. But now you can go way beyond that. If you can put your business online, if you can trade online, now you've got the whole world as your oyster, because everyone needs these skills of social selling. Everyone needs anything that can be online. And all of a sudden, you've got a bigger catchment. You've got a global market that now you can reach. So irrespective of what's happening in each country, now all of a sudden the opportunity is opened up to a global market, and that's for every business, a single sole trader, as well as it used to be the corporates domain, didn't it, Tim? The global markets. Now I'm looking, I've got inquiries from the States, from different
Yep.
countries. I can deliver training, I can do events, and anyone in the world can participate. So now Business Connection is going to go global,
Yep.
not just local. So the opportunity is the whole world, really.
Most definitely. I think the opportunity is even, in the past, as a sole trader in Derby, in the UK, you generally sold to people within the Derby, Nottingham, maybe Chesterfield area. Now you have the opportunity to sell in New Zealand and South America. I mean, the only barrier really is one of language, but we happen to be very lucky that we speak English, which generally is the language of business.
Absolutely, yes.
And so you can capitalize on that. And getting a good social presence means that, I mean, what I would say is that there's a lot of people going to do this. I mean, I've been seeing things on LinkedIn that says the best way to get a job is to start a podcast. So if everybody who's basically out of work is going to start a podcast, there's going to be thousands, if not millions of them.
That's right.
So there's a way that you need to be able to shout above the noise. And the sooner as you get used to it and start doing it, then the way that you'll find a way of working that out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the issue. It's always been the issue on social media and online is the noise. But we both know the skills that we have and we teach with social selling and proper social media. We teach people how to reach the right target audience with the right tools and the right time. And we can quickly cut through the noise. And that's what people have to learn now. And also just the other thing on that, Tim, is when it comes to business moving online, I think we have to work out what can we do in the real world and how do we translate that into the digital world?
Yes.
And 90% of what most people do in business is transferable. And it might mean some people have to do a bit of a pivot and reposition themselves. That's a great opportunity to move into niche markets where there are now new needs, but you have to work out what I was doing with the network in those 5 elements, how to move that online. And it is all possible. Some of it isn't, but that's negligible. 90% we can do, and you make the 90% the 100% of the value you deliver and add. And once you work that out, you can be a success online.
Fine, cool. So let's talk about the technology that you've been using, and let's go through the sort of apps that you've been using.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll come on to Zoom at the end, if that's all right, because one of the things I picked up with this is a lot of hesitancy with people about joining in. They know it's good, they know they need to, but it's this thing of, I don't know how it works. Oh, I'm not sure about the technology. So what I would say is to people, if you want to move anything to do with your business online, start with what people have and where people are at. So people have got Facebook, they've got Messenger on there. You can do that. You can call through Messenger, do a video call, similar with WhatsApp. Then you can move on to using like Facebook Live, because that's quite easy to do really nowadays, and start using those things to get yourself used to it, and also let your audience see that it's real. You're real. You mess around. It doesn't always go well with technology. I mean, we don't have any big green screens here or massive lighting. Do what you can with what you have and then build from there. And from there, you can then look at options that if you're moving the event on and the event has got a number of speakers, you can then go to things like you've got different webinar jam, you've got different webinar software. Just Google it, you'll see loads of them and great offers at the minute. So if you just want to broadcast and not have audience participation necessarily, then there's lots of webinar software out there. If it's a free event, you can use Facebook Live and stream it to people as well. If you want to charge, which you should do if you're putting all the time and all in, because let me tell you, a face-to-face event is great, but doing an online one and the preparation, the delivery, the follow-up takes 5-6 times the amount of time and resource if you want to do it properly. If you want to do an event online where you get breakout rooms and different things which we can replicate, and I'll talk about in a minute, then again, that's going to take a lot more time. So don't think because it's online, everything's free. There is still the cost, not the technology. That's reasonable. It's the time to make it happen.
Yeah. That's good counsel. Yeah.
So, but use what you have and then move up as your budget allows.
Yeah.
But the one tool that people are really using at the minute for online events, not just one-to-one, but events, is Zoom, ZOOM, and that is brilliant. The paid plan in the UK is about £12.
It's £11.99 a month. Yes, so you can get I use a free version, which is it only allows you to run 40-minute meetings. It might not be good for a networking event, but for an everyday, so what I do is I only have 30-minute meetings, which gives a 10 minutes for if it overruns. But for most people, 30 minutes is okay. So that's free. But if you're running a networking event, Zoom is useful. We've also been recommended a company called Concept Board. Concept Board allows you, because with Zoom, if you start using rooms, which is the functionality where you have people going out and having
people off,
syndicate rooms, as if you were running. There's a training company which is a reseller of ours in Germany. They're using Concept Board and they find it cheaper and better as a way of basically for the break-off rooms.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, like say with Zoom, once you start adding in rooms, that gets mega expensive, especially if you need quite a few rooms. But overall, Zoom is great for anything that you're going to get a group of people together, because if you had 50 people, all the screen, everybody becomes a little tile, so everybody is on there. So it's just like looking out at an audience, but it's flat on your screen, and you can bring people in, you can highlight people, mute, unmute, all the functions of raise your hand, the chat. Absolutely brilliant. It's low cost, it's affordable for most people, and compared to hiring a venue to have a face-to-face event, it's peanuts, especially if you're having a weekly one. It's only costing you about £3 per event to host it, plus your time and all, of course. So Zoom is brilliant for that. But one of the there's another actually London-based company that I want to give a bit of a shout out to. It's called Sneak, SNEEK.io, because they've got a unique app. One of the issues at the minute is that you've got managers of offices. They might have 20, 30 staff, and they're all working from home, and the manager's sitting there thinking, what's my staff doing, or how do we get in touch? I have to ring them. But it becomes a bit of a logistical nightmare. Sneak is a brilliant app that everybody is on your screen. They're there. You can do opaque and whatever so that people don't see what you're doing, but you're there, and literally you just click on the screen, this instant video, and you're talking just like you're turning to somebody. Well, what about this, Adam? What are we going to do about this? Click the button, you're on screen, you can share your screen, integrates with Slack, all of these things. So if you've got remote workers, a distributed team, look up sneak.io, and it's a brilliant app for anything like that. That's for a team environment. But back to the events again, the app to start with is Zoom. And once you learn how to use it, it takes about 20 minutes, really. And you'll never look back at face-to-face events again. You'll be online.
And I need to mention that we're using Crowdcast.io as a product. That this actually allows you to stream to Facebook. I don't do that, but for me, I mean, it's not free. And from a Zoom perspective, it sounds strange, but I've got, well, my father is in a home under lock and key at the moment, but my mother is vulnerable. I've actually had a Zoom call with her because I wanted her to get used to the technology. And it's a good way if you're not used to it. I mean, some of us, we find hearing our voice or seeing our face as difficult. Certainly for me, I grew up in an age where photography was like a special thing. You had the camera was in a cupboard and you brought it out and you took one photo. And that was like a special occasion. So, we now live in an age where photography is ubiquitous. It's all around us. And actually getting people used to it. And so I didn't force her, but I phoned her up and said, we're going to have a Zoom call. And there's also another product as well, which I then found out about, which is called House Party, which isn't actually business related. It's actually more if you want to get the family online or for kids. The user interface is more fun rather than Zoom, which is very formal and professional. Okay, good. Was there anything else, Jazz, at all? Because that sounds like you had a great event.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would just say that those four things that we're talking about really is important. People need to get on social, especially if you're in business, be on LinkedIn, be on Facebook, use the groups, but get social, make those connections to build up your social presence, your networks, build your community. Work out right now, look at your business and work out what can I put online, what can I not, and seek advice about how to do it. But you need to get online to work it out. And then the other thing is make the most of this opportunity. The whole world is your oyster. So this is the time to move before the crowd starts to move in. And the last thing, don't worry about technology. Technology is still your servant. You just need to choose it, use it, and use it to your benefit to grow your business at this time.
That's been really good. We've actually got one question,
All right.
which is from Ross, which is there's actually 6 people watching, which I think is the first for me.
Okay.
I never actually promote these things because quite often there's technical problems and then you just lose the audience. So, I mean, Crowdcast is one of the most easiest tools. Anyway, Ross says, it's actually about Crowdcast, Jazz. So it says, any good resources to help me quickly tool up on how to use Crowdcast? I suddenly need to deliver all our events online. Now, what I would say about that is that I use Crowdcast, and this is what we're doing here. I think it's fantastic. I take a video from this and I put it on YouTube. I think it's very flexible. You can get lists of people that who attended. So, for example, if you want to see a good person that uses it really well, then Samantha Kelly, who is the tweeting goddess, isn't she, on Twitter?
That's right. Yes.
If you search for Samantha Kelly, she kills it. I mean, she runs these things, and she's been running a number of them. And I would certainly, she's actually run a number of events on how to use Crowdcast as a tool. But what I would say is, going back to what you were saying, Jazz, about don't worry so much about the tool. It's actually about realizing about the investment in time. And it's the classic thing of the swan, floating, across the water, and underneath it's paddling away to do that. I mean, as you said, it's taken you 5 or 6 times more effort to run an online event than it has done a face-to-face event. And that's,
That's real.
I'd never thought of that. I just thought you just move it online and Bob's your uncle. But
so it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, Jazz, it's been fantastic. I know the kids need to get back onto the internet, and we've run out. We're on 34 minutes, so they must be crawling up. Thank you so much for today. It's been fantastic you sharing your experiences. I do hope that other people have been able to, who've listened in, are able to pick up on that, and it actually inspires them to get online, because I'm not going to say it's easy, but there's a great opportunity out there.
It's possible. That's it. It is possible.
It is possible. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jazz, for today.
No problem. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Jazz.
Okay.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.